Welcome to the 1% Better Recruitment Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Kiriakou, and this is the podcast that aims to help people within the recruitment industry get 1% better after every single episode. We've had such a wide variety of different guests that come on the show that talk openly about their stories, about sharing value, tools, techniques, strategies, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all within the recruitment space. And every single episode, we like to have as much fun as possible with open conversation back and forth. It's not scripted, it's uncensored. And as I mentioned, I like to have fun doing this podcast because I know that if you're going to tune into this, you want to feel like you're part of a conversation whilst also leveling up your game within the recruitment space. So if you like this podcast, please do us all a favor. Comment, like, subscribe, follow on all the platforms. It really helps drive engagement for the show. And yeah, that's enough from me. Let's get into this week's episode, and I hope you enjoy. Sheldon, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today. Lovely to be in your office as well. Second time I've done this on the road. So for people that may or may not know you, what you do, etc., just give the audience a bit of an intro, mate.
I'm going to stare at the camera.
Yeah, you can look at me. It's fine.
So we've been going for just under 10 years, and we focus on construction, senior level roles in the US. And we've got an office here in London and one in Dubai. That's kind of...
Yeah, nice. So when we first spoke, I remember you saying about, being based out in Dubai, like it's a huge difference. My old manager does, I think, like 3 months in Dubai, 3 months in Thailand, 3 months in Bali, 3 months in the UK. You can imagine why he's picked those three countries, right?
Yeah. No. I mean, I lived in London just when I started in recruitment in 2012. Was working in London Bridge and then worked in the city bank area, and then more or less, just the typical environment or recruitment environment that you'd expect. I've always been interested in travelling and going to different places. So the opportunity to do something there was there. So we just kind of went with it and started hiring people over there, and then
local people or like getting people
to move over, or people that have already moved over there that are living there that maybe doing real estate. But yeah, I mean, every country has its challenges, but we've recruited internationally for a while, so in terms of the location where we're based, I don't really see it as an issue. I think back in the day, if you was doing London market and you were living in another location, that would probably be an issue. I mean, even if you lived outside London, that would have been an issue. But I think because we're not location specific and we're doing the international market, it's not a problem.
Do you think that's largely changed since COVID? Because you got in recruitment in 2012, I got in recruitment in 2014. I never had a laptop until 2020. Like work from home wasn't really a thing.
I think kind of. I mean, I used to meet all my candidates, every single one that I represented. And when you're doing the London market, that's completely fine. I think with LinkedIn and the access to the data and information, it's easier to build databases which are more, that are less location specific. And then with COVID, because doing a Zoom is socially acceptable, then there's just an assumption that, okay, well, you haven't met them physically, but perhaps you've done a Zoom with them. So I think that it actually probably has changed since COVID. But in fairness, we were doing international before COVID, and it generally was fine. But even our perception of what we would do would be, we'll fly out to Dublin, for example, which we did do. But then now it's don't need to do that at all. I'll
agree with you because we did. So I mainly did UK market in medical devices, and we had a team that did Europe, and then we kind of transitioned a little bit to do US because fees were bigger and whatnot. But whenever we had like a big client that gave us good fees, etc., my best client was based out of all places Enschede, which is the German border of the Netherlands. Middle of buttfuck nowhere. It's just wild. But we went out there and we went out with all of the sales leaders for every single country. So the DAC leader, Benelux leader, France leader, etc. And that for me as like a mid-20s-year-old bloke with my sales director was like, this is insane. And then when they set up an office in Amsterdam, we flew out to Amsterdam to meet the chief human resources officer. We used to go to exhibitions in Barcelona. Like it was insane. Like, but we didn't have laptops. Like it's weird thinking back to it because we'd have our phones, we'd have like lists and stuff like that, but our sole focus was to go out there, do the meeting, and get a flight back at like 10 to then get back into the office for like 8:30 in the morning. So I feel like there's just been, I don't know, do you think, I mean, you know, you can speak for yourself, but do you think broadly in the industry that people just don't necessarily do that as much? Just if you've won a client, just to fly and get on a plane to go and meet them, to shake their hands and things like that?
I mean, look, we don't do it at all, and not because I think there is value in doing it. I still think there is value in doing it, but I think it's been proven that you don't need to necessarily build the figures, and it depends on the business model, and it depends on there's so many variables, and I think if you go back 10 to 15 years ago, it was just for the most part just one way of doing it, and I think now it's not necessarily the case, and also I think back then the database, you just had the database, and you know even I would use the landline, and you then have the you then actually have the computer, like you're saying, so it is different. It's just the time is not necessarily a bad or good thing. I mean, it does impact potentially people's ability to do the job in a certain way, just because you get lazy. But you know, it is what it is. Yeah. I think you know, I've had so many people on this podcast that have talked about relationships, like everything in recruitment, and you know, you can't beat face to face. And I always find it a bit like ironic when they say that to me when I'm doing a Zoom podcast with them and I've never met them in person. I'm like, you're right, yeah, face to face is definitely the most important whilst I'm chatting to you on Zoom. I think there's a time and a place for both. You know, I work with some businesses in London that they prioritise meeting people, like their main KPI is going out and meeting candidates, meeting clients, etc. So I think that there is a time and a place for it, but equally, if you're doing like European, US recruitment, where you know, what are you going to just fly out to Austin to meet a client that you're going to potentially work with? I don't know. Like it's a bit. My question, I think a lot of it more comes down to your own business model and or the actual company's business model. And there's 14 of us across the two offices, and if you decide that the more junior you are, I think the harder it is to understand whether or not it's worth doing that meeting.
Sure.
So then it becomes harder to actually commit to making the investment in doing it. Not even just financially, just the time itself.
Yeah.
So I think if there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of you, then maybe it's okay because you can understand whether or not that meeting's worth taking. But I mean, yeah, we wouldn't send out. I mean, I just wouldn't categorically send out a candidate that I hadn't met before. Whereas if you did that now, you'd miss out. And a lot of it is dictated by the clients because they would just simply say, oh, well, someone sent it first, and frankly, they don't care whether or not they met you or not. But you know,
do you think that devalues the service though? Because look, just on your point there, when I moved away from contract nursing recruitment to medical devices permanent, the boss in that company was like, you can't submit a candidate unless you've met them. And I'm like, I can't meet every candidate anymore. We just jump on Teams or Zoom or Skype or whatever. You have to meet them. And we were representing salespeople, so they could lie on their figures and stuff. And he always used to say that in an interview, when you're going through their CV and said, oh, so you had 110 SVT 2012. Tell me a little bit about that. You can tell if they're bullshitting.
Yeah, I think it depends on how you recruit and also your mindset towards the delivering for the clients. I mean, I think I've got a little bit of a different mentality towards it than most. I just think that the clients are paying us a fee. They're paying it to provide options, and I'm not there to. This is how I see it. I'm not there to tell them who they should be taking. I'm there to suggest options, provide choices, and then essentially check these people out and get other people to decide whether or not they're good or not. So my mindset towards that changed when I started doing the European market, because they didn't have access to that many candidates. So it's like, right, we're expanding, we're speaking to people every day, we're relocating people from Middle East, Australia, New Zealand, back to Ireland and Europe. So we're giving the clients more access. Now, some people have a view of deciding how good that person is based upon them interviewing the candidate. But then at the end of the day, the client's hiring them, they want options. I can go into the technical detail, but I don't think the client really cares whether or not I think that they're good or not. It's not really about whether or not the candidate's good. It's just about, for me, we're in a business. We can't even dictate whether or not how good the client is, or how good or bad what they're doing, or a good candidate is very subjective. So for me, sitting down and you need to understand the motivations of the person. That's the most important thing. You need to understand whether or not you can actually get this person over the line.
Yeah.
So I think that's what the meeting's not about, qualifying it necessarily for the client and understanding whether or not they're good or not. It's more about, can you actually place them? So I think if you're junior and we don't really do candidate meetings here, but I mean, I'm trying to encourage people to do more longer form phone calls.
Qualification calls,
at least on a second call, because it's not about the candidate and whether or not they're good. It's just about whether or not you can actually place them. And if you don't ask them the right questions, and also you need to test whether or not if the candidate doesn't want to spend half an hour on the phone with you. I know we're getting onto the detail of this is like the trading stuff. Yeah. But if the candidate doesn't want to spend half hour on the phone with you, then why should you represent them?
100%.
And then also, before, if you asked, I was talking about this the other day, if you ask someone to meet you and they say yes, it shows a level of commitment.
100%.
So therefore, it's absolutely fine for you to spend your 100%. Next week working.
Yeah, that reminds me, I recently done a training academy, all 19, 24 years old, never done recruitment before, never done sales really before. And I think day 2 with me, so their third day, because I wasn't in on the Monday. On Tuesday we did how to structure sales calls and what the cycle of recruitment is, mindset training, what it takes to be a successful recruiter. And on day 3, the second day with me, was candidate qualification and cold calling, because they split it between, it was a 180 model. And by the end of the training, we done a role play, and I said, I want you guys to just, at the end of this, just soak in how bad those role plays were. And they all look at each other. They do the role plays, candidate qualification role plays for 5 minutes. And I'm just like, yeah, it's not going to be that long. And they were like, how long is it going to be? And I went, mate, it could be anything from 20 to 45 minutes. And in their market, it's quite techy, and you've got to go into a lot of detail, right? They all looked at me like, but how are we going to hit our numbers if we've got to make that many calls, 45-minute candidate qualifications? And I'm like, just look at, and I got them to build their own cheat sheets, right? So it's every stage of the candidate qualification, there's a tick sheet, and they've got to fill in the blanks with the open questions that they're going to ask. And the role plays that we've done on week 3, in comparison, just next level. The reason why I'm bringing this up is the amount of times I've been in the office with those guys, and they're calling candidates, and candidates go, why are you asking for this information? I'm an engineer, I'm looking for a new job, have you got a job for me? And they just, like that. And I'm like,
yeah, they start panicking.
Of course they do. And I'm like, the more experience you get, the more you can handle those types of candidates and clients that say, just tell me what jobs you have, or what candidates have you got, etc. But going back to your point, if a candidate's not willing to meet you, if a candidate's not willing to go into real serious detail about the why they're looking and what's actually important, they're just not committed. And they could be the best candidate in the world, but if they're not actually willing to invest time, you've got to protect your own time. I tell recruiters all the time that your time is just as valuable. You've got to protect your time.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing a diagram and just demonstrating that. I mean, you kind of taught that everybody should be level, but I said, you're actually the one at the top.
Yeah.
Your time's most important, and they're actually down here somewhere. But obviously, clients, candidates don't want to hear that. But but this is what you're doing. And I actually think, to be honest, there's a mentality difference between the US and the UK from the client's perspective. I mean, let's be honest. If you're the client and I own a construction company and I need somebody to run one of my projects, do I want the recruiter that thinks they're the best, or one that just thinks they're pretty average?
I don't know. You tell me.
I want the one that thinks they're the best.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. I would think so as well.
You know, I think sometimes in the UK, it's like, I don't want this arrogant recruiter turning up.
Right, okay, I see where you're going.
Do you see what I mean?
I do.
There is a mentality difference.
Oh, 100%. So I only done the US market for a little bit. My brother's only ever done US recruitment. I think in a similar-ish market, he does construction, like civil engineers and stuff. I don't know what part of America. But he loves it. He loves it. My brother's quite, relatively optimistic and, like a go-getter type character. When I worked the US market, they called me Chucky. Don't know why, they called me Chucky, and they tried to offer me jobs in front of my boss, which a UK person would never do that. Like, it's just such an awkward thing to do. But the UK clients, and this is one thing that me and my wife talk about this all the time. Like, I would say that I'm a relatively patriotic person, right? 3 out of 4 of my grandparents are immigrants from South Africa and Cyprus, right? Only my granddad on my dad's side, who I never met, is World War II veteran, etc., etc. I love London. In small chunks. I don't think I could live here anymore, but I love London, I love the UK, I love the British people, etc. I feel like, and this might be going off on a bit of a tangent here, but that's almost frowned upon in the UK. Whereas in the US, when I used to speak to US clients, another beautiful day in California, Chucky, and you're like, you never hear someone say that. Like, London when it's sunny, it's fucking amazing. And like, when I'm sat there telling my friends, like, I've met up with these 2 guys and we're setting up a brand new business, like, another business? Don't you have your own business? Like,
yeah, I mean, there's definitely a difference in mindset and mentality. I mean, I enjoy doing the US market for a number of reasons. I think the opportunity is just
it's next level.
Way bigger. Among other reasons, like you mentioned there about the mindset and mentality around even just being, again, how they view success and stuff like that. So. And obviously, UK is extremely. I mean, it's competitive as well, which is is another barrier. But no, I completely agree. Yeah, we've been doing the US market now for just under 3 years, and we'll do anything as far south as Miami, up to Boston. But I think we've recruited in maybe 12 states. 10, 11, 12 states, quite a few. I mean, there's even differences within the states, but as broadly as a whole, it's pretty good. It's difficult doing it from Dubai, but again, one of the main reasons why I wanted to set the office up over there is it's tax-free and you're doing the US fees. So for somebody joining the business there, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Aside from working late, but I mean, if you can balance
What's
that.
the time difference if you're doing like the East Coast?
It's 8 hours. So it's quite a lot.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
so what sort of hours are you?
We'd normally get in 1:30, 2.
Yeah.
Do some admin, do some LinkedIn stuff, and then start getting on the phone around 4 or 5 o'clock, and then work till 10, 11. But if you're efficient with your time, it's fine. But again, they'll get to, I don't know, do whatever they want to do at the weekends in Dubai. But the point being is even better doing the US market from there than doing the local market. I mean, if anybody ever had any questions about doing recruitment in Dubai, I mean, that's a whole different topic altogether.
Well, I was going to ask you, what's that like?
We've done some placements in Saudi, but the Dubai stuff, it's very small. Really? So the city itself, the population, I think is quite, it's small. And once you take out the tourists, you see a lot of people around. It's very small. You'll see the same people around. It's almost like being in a small town in the UK. And it looks like there's a lot of building going on, but again, issues are getting paid late. The fees are low. It's super competitive, yeah. So, and then also there's a lot of people that will work in the UK. They'll do 10 years in the UK market, give up a successful desk, go to Dubai, but then they might not want to stay there for 2-3 years. So I would argue you're better off doing a market which has got the highest fees, regardless of whether or not you live in Dubai, you can live anywhere. You can live in the Caribbean. It doesn't really matter. Just do the US market, and that remains a constant, rather than I'll go to Dubai, do the Dubai market. You don't need to do that. I don't understand why people do that. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I have a client that was thinking about doing Middle Eastern markets, Saudi, Dubai, Qatar, etc.
It's absolute madness. You don't need to. What do you need to do that for? There's no need to do it.
I don't know.
Like, there's absolutely no need.
Yeah.
Like, why do you need to do the local market? You can meet a few people. I mean, I kind of get it, but again, you've got to really understand the market first.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if people want to go and do that, that's absolutely fine. I mean, it's fair enough. Again, it depends on their viewpoint.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, my viewpoint is absolutely categorically no.
Yeah. Fair enough. So tell me a little bit about your transition then to doing US recruitment. So like a couple of things. Firstly though, is when you said that you guys started doing US recruitment at the Charles Charles Group 3 years ago?
Yeah, about 3 years.
Was that the first time you started doing US recruitment?
Yeah. We've never done it before. So okay. I was always quite comfortable setting up desks. Okay. So the first company that I worked for pretty much there's core markets, and I was just kind of get on with it.
Right.
So now I was absolutely fine with it, and over time I've built almost like a blueprint on how to start up a desk. Okay. So I can do it again and again and again. I just quite enjoy doing it, to be honest.
I'm going to dig into that in a minute, but carry on.
And started then doing Europe probably 5 years into actually probably a bit longer, maybe 7 years into my recruitment career, but I started business in 2016, started in Europe in 2019. Again, completely cold. And then because we'd gone into new markets, the opportunity, I'd heard about the fees being high, didn't really see it as an issue or a boundary, and then started at the end of 2022, and first placement was in January 2023. So I mean, even now at June 25, it's still new. Yeah. And there's still differences and stuff that we're figuring out. But if you're in it for the long term, the thing that makes the most sense is to find the market which has the biggest fees and just stick doing that.
Yeah.
And that has to be the only thing for me.
Okay. So a lot of people try and move into the US. A lot of people fail. Like I said, my brother's been doing US recruitment and decent fees for the large majority of his career. I've mentioned this on the podcast so many times that I had a fairly successful UK desk, and any European business, we had a European desk, so we would do splits and I'd give them that stuff and vice versa. And then they were starting up the US function, and everyone was kind of baffled because I was the business development guy. I was the one that set up this desk, set up that market, etc. They were like, why is he not doing the US stuff? And obviously I see the fees and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, let's do that. But we had no infrastructure. It was all cold, but we didn't have a strategy to do that, right? And the culture's so different. Everything was so different. I just didn't really understand what the fuck I was actually doing. My whole strategy was just fucking cold call. It's literally all it was. And we weren't really getting anywhere. We had no automated like emails. We had like, I didn't even know that a CV was called a resume out there. Do you know what I mean? That was like real rookie stuff. But the thing that made me go, do you know what? Like, I'm going to go back and do the UK stuff was the hours. And I started doing that market, I want to say it was like October 2018 or something like that. I'll never forget when I finished work. Well, I had my lunch break at 5:30 and we worked in a WeWork before it became shit. Like now, like back then, WeWorks were vibey as hell. Every Thursday, Friday, they would have parties, they'd have events. It was amazing. I went downstairs and there's like the hostess making cocktails for everyone. And I'm like, I've got 5 hours left of work. I can't have a cocktail now. I was like, no. Everyone else is getting boozed up and like, where should we go? We should go to this place. And I'm just like, oh, fuck me. I'm getting proper FOMO, right? Then me and my colleague Oscar have just gone back upstairs to like just hammer the phones, getting brutally rejected, red button, going, oh yeah, give me 1 second, beep, beep, beep. And they're like, fuck's sake. And then I remember going back to Potterswell where I used to live and my car wouldn't start because it was so cold. And I was just like, you know, when all the bad things are happening at once. And I was just like looking around and I was like, this is quite miserable, if I'm honest. And like looking back, like maybe if I stuck it out, but to be fair, no one else in the business made it work until semi-recently when the sales director has actually physically relocated to Austin now. But I just remember thinking like, oh man, like if I didn't do that, maybe my UK desk would have just been growing and growing and growing, but I kind of put that on pause, etc. When you mentioned about like this blueprint for setting up a desk and kind of sticking at it. I mean, if there's a business that's thinking about setting up in the US market, or a consultant that's maybe transitioning to doing US recruitment, and they're setting up a new market, etc., like tell us a little. You don't have to tell us all your secrets.
Yeah,
but like,
no. I mean, on your point about the UK versus the US, the way that I look at it is the average fee that we were doing in the UK would be £8,000. Now, 8,000, 9,000. Now, it might be different for tech. I think it's probably a little bit larger. But then our average is about $25,000, and even that is lower than it could be. It could probably be a lot higher than that. So you can do fees up to 50, 60K, probably more than that, to be honest, and we've done ones to that size. So if you're going to do it for a long time, you've got a couple of choices. You can do the UK market, do 3 deals a month, and maybe you hit 30K. Or you do the US market, do 3 deals a month and do 100K. I mean, you'll thank yourself if you get on with it. Yeah. For me, but again, not everybody has that mindset. So working later is working later, but again, it just depends on what you want from your own life. Yeah. You know, if you think that you want to go down, you know, I want to leave at 5 o'clock so I can go to the pub and don't want to work, then that's fine. You can do the UK market and get £8,000 £8,000 fees. Yeah. I think that's completely, and that's fair enough.
Yeah, it totally depends on people.
It depends on the people and the motivation. So that is absolutely fine. If you want to make some money, then you know, I don't think staying a bit later is an issue. In terms of setting up the desk, the most important thing is the data and organising the data. And having an idea about what you want to target and thinking very clearly about the recipient. And the volume's got to be like 5 times higher than you think it needs to be. So it's got to be like extremely high volume. And I'm talking about email marketing. That's got to be really high. The data's got to be in order and organised. And you need to really test the clients with options so that you can gauge the urgency, and don't work a job until you've either placed them before or you've got some form of interview slot. Otherwise, don't work the job.
I like that.
And I think for me, you need to think about the recipient. Because if you are doing email marketing, you need to try and pick a role where the client is more likely to see the email. Because some roles, particularly in construction, some roles are more, you're not at your desk as much. So, again, it depends on what the candidates are doing. You need to be in a marketplace where your audience is. So that's why you've got to think really carefully about the role specifically. You then got to think about location and where's your competition going, where aren't they going? Because you know, it might be better off looking at somewhere that's not an obvious place, because some people will, if they were going to do it from the UK, they would all land in the same location first. So it might be better to go pick one where it's not as obvious. And you need to really hunt in packs as well. You can't be doing it really on your own, just because, I mean, you can, but you're going to have to be really specific. But the most important thing is data.
So when you say data, so you mentioned that like 3 times, and organising your data. Tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that.
You need all the email addresses. You need to find email addresses, and then you need to be very specific about what it is that the client does. And that we can apply that to construction, but you can apply that to anything. Once you've organised that, I think you need to focus more on working the candidate rather than working the role. Because the issue is people don't realise how vast America is. So it's all very well getting a job on, but good luck trying to find somebody that...
Yeah, we need someone near Kansas City. I'm like, yeah, sound. Kansas City LinkedIn recruiter. Oh, there's 100,000 people. Like, and then you look like from one side of the state to the other, and it's like, Jesus, that's like 500 miles.
Yeah,
or something.
Exactly. So it's like people think, oh, you know, I've got a job in Birmingham, and then they're searching the whole UK and go, oh no, I've got someone, they live in Edinburgh.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's just not.
Yeah,
it's not doing it. And the reality is, you don't know these locations, so you've got to get to know the location very quickly. You need to study the location, be specific. Don't work the job to begin with because you'll get lost. You've got to work the candidate. It's far easier finding the candidate and finding them free options that are close to them. You can easily find a company.
When you say working the candidate... Just a quick one from me, guys. I hope you're enjoying this week's episode. But as you probably know, the way that I fund this podcast is through my coaching business. So just a little bit of information around that, because you or someone that you might know might find some value in this. But I work with recruitment agencies, recruitment businesses within a range of 1 to 100 heads that are looking to scale, grow, and ultimately want to upskill both founder level, recruiter level, and everything in between. And I offer a wide variety of different services, from one-to-one coaching, group coaching, training academies, business development training, creating company handbooks, and I'm looking to do a lot more webinars, and I'm looking to add as much value as I possibly can. But in order for me to keep doing this podcast, I need to make a living, I need to pay my mortgage, and I can only do that through my coaching business. Really difficult doing it by yourself, but I love doing it, and I add a lot of value to recruiters and recruitment businesses. So if that sounds like something that you'd potentially be interested in, if you're someone that's passionate about personal and professional development, my details are below with this podcast. That's enough from me. Let's get into the rest of this week's episode. So I literally had a conversation with a potential client, not yesterday, day before. He's never done recruitment before. He was like in finances, and him and his business partner set up a recruitment firm, struggling, and he's now starting to find his feet, and et cetera, et cetera. I told him that the 2 processes that we got taught was key process 1, key process 2, which is work a job, work a candidate. We had like a bit of a cheat sheet that we created in the L&D department on how to work a candidate. I want to ask you kind of how you specifically work one, and it sounds like you guys are really big on the email marketing. My biggest pet peeve when I'm coaching recruiters is I've worked the candidate, but I've got nothing back, and they've just done an eShots to the database.
Oh yeah, but that's not enough.
One email.
That's
do you really
not
think
enough.
any of your hiring managers are going to read one email?
Yeah, that's no good.
So what's your process if you've got?
That's
if I was like an unwell candidate, how are you working me?
What you got to do, you ideally need to follow the process. You need to, if you commit to doing it, you need to do it properly. But you need to qualify the candidate obviously properly first.
Yeah, so let's just say I'm a candidate, and I'm in your world. Say, for example, I'm a senior candidate, construction director or something. I'm based in Miami, and my business has just gone into liquidation. I'm looking for a new job. Yeah. You found my motivations and what I'm looking for and whatnot. How are you then taking me to market?
You need to ask the candidate. This is what I would do. You've got to ask the candidate the niches that they want to work in. Mm-hmm. Option 1, option 2, option 3. Locations that they want to work, option 1, option 2, option 3. You need exclusivity. Again, obviously you need to make sure that it's exclusive, because you can't go putting in all the work and then get nowhere out of it. And then e-shot them and find whatever it is that, niche number 1, find niche point in resume, highlight that, send it to that list. Don't just splat the email out. Yeah, and
it's lazy, innit?
Yeah, don't, because that's going to get you nowhere. You're not going to get any responses. You're going to get nothing back. You might get lucky, they might get lucky, but your response rate is going to decrease. Could be 0.5%. If it's more targeted, it could be 2%. But again, if you're sending out to 100 people, it's 2 people back, which is fine. 500 people is 10 people back, which is not too bad. If that doesn't work, what you then need to do is you then start looking at different angles. So you need to look at how many USPs can I identify in that individual, and that thing could be their education background, so what university they went to. It could be the fact they were in the US Army. Then I'd go and find people that were in the US Army that are local, find people that went to the same university that are local, find people that worked to the old company.
Finding that common ground,
yeah, any common ground, because they don't need to trust who I am. But if I saw someone that also went to the same university as me, I might go, and in the title they put University of Kent graduate, I might go, let me have a look. Yeah. So you've got to just try and find common ground. And I think if you commit to working the candidate, all you've got to really do, if you commit to working one person once a week,
do all right.
You surely, you must be able to place one of them a month. Yeah. Don't do anything else. Just work one person once a week. That's it. You don't need to complicate it.
And is that all just via email marketing, or is there any other approaches in you're taking the candidate to market?
Look, ultimately, you should be following up with calls.
Yeah.
And, but even with the email marketing itself, depending on the angle that you go down, what you then need to do is look back at what you've done over a period of time and assess what's worked. So, as an example, you said this is why it's really important to be consistent with it, because after 100 days, if you do it 100 times, you can look back and go, oh, the guy that worked in US Army got the most responses. That will be the thing that I use more then.
Right.
And then you've got some information to go off. But again, if you don't want to send, some people don't do it. So most companies barely send out eShots, they won't do it. They'll have their clients, they'll have 3-4 clients, and they won't keep doing that.
Yeah.
So then when those clients dry up, which inevitably will do, then they're knackered. Yeah. They've got nowhere to go. But if you're consistently doing it, you're at least getting a handle on the market, so you've got more understanding about what the feedback is. Again, as long as you're more targeted, that's the most important.
I think that's what my takeaway is from what you've said, because it's all well and good doing an eShot to the database and getting 1% back off of 1,000 or something, but largely that 1% back is going to be cheers but no thanks or whatever. But if you've got, because you talk a lot about the data, right? If you've got specific lists of those niches, those locations, and then you can tailor your eShot, say if you've got 100 people in per list or whatever, that's where the money is. And in terms of your the email as well, because I had a lady from Sourcewell on, and she talked all about cold outreach, cold call tactics and stuff like that. And I learned loads off of that. For me, whenever I sit down with trainee recruiters especially, and to be honest, mate, even sometimes senior consultants, principal level, and I look at their email, I always say to them, if your email looks like someone's dissertation, it's wrong. If your LinkedIn message, if I can squint and it looks like a little article in the newspaper.
Yeah, because you just switch off.
In the bin.
You've got to come up with creative titles. It's got to be fairly short, quite snappy. For me, this is obvious.
Yeah.
This is just very obvious.
Well, you've been in the game a while. For some people, they
so
overcomplicate it so much.
Well, as an example, why do you need to list the duties? Why? Because if the recipient does the job, they know what they do.
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
But again, most people sit there and list duties, and you don't need to do that.
Yeah. So what's the key things when you're taking a candidate to market? What's the key things that you'd put on?
I mean, as an example, if you build stadiums, so let's say you've built Tottenham Stadium and
greatest stadium in Europe,
and then Chelsea are doing a stadium, and you've identified who's going to potentially do Chelsea's new stadium. You're not going to put the duties of that person. You would put, Tottenham Stadium's lead project engineer.
Yeah.
Just straight away in the title. I've got Tottenham's Stadium's lead engineer. Yeah. He was on a project from whatever.
That's enough. It's just going to get people going.
I mean, you really don't. What else do you need to put on the email?
True.
Where he lives, his age, maybe. Just for the most part, but that's the key thing. You don't need to say, "Oh, he's done Tottenham Stadium, and he's done a few roads, and he's done a bridge, and he's done a house, and he's." You don't need. There's no need for that.
Yeah.
So just short, concise.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I was never really that good when it came to if you look at my KPIs back in 2017 to 2020, my spec emails were one of the lowest in the business, but my new business was always the highest in the business, because my approach was very much verbal spec-ins. Don't get me wrong, now I'm quite good on email and stuff like that. I'm quite good at articulating stuff, but I found it way more enjoyable getting someone on the phone and saying, I have a person that's just gone to President's Club 6 years in a row, sold to your customer base and is immediately available. When can you see this person? And that's how I generated noise.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, again, it depends on the business, and it depends on, because I'm a firm believer that you need to be able to do that, because if you can't, as a recruiter, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Because if you've got no plan B, C, D, or E, you may as well not bother. In many ways, you may as well not bother because you sit there and go, plan A is not working. Oh no.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have another plan. Oh, okay, I better just sit there and hope something comes back then.
Yeah.
That's fine, but when push comes to shove, you're in a bit of a situation. So I think understanding the plan Z is good, so that if you're in trouble, you can dig yourself out of it. Yeah. And that, for me, that is the difference between probably what I would have been taught when I first started versus potentially, I imagine, most recruitment companies now. Because in many ways, you don't need to know Plan Z, particularly if you're operating within a system and everyone's working in formation. You don't actually need to know the backup plan, providing that you just hit the numbers and you do what you're doing, then it's fine. And most part of the companies won't care whether or not you know the backup plan. Yeah. But speccing over the phone will never get old, particularly with the AI stuff.
And that'll be something I want to pick your brains about. It's interesting because earlier when you were saying about looking back at the data to see what's worked. So if you've done like a spec email with US Army veteran or whatever and that's worked, then you hone in on that. When I was the L&D manager at a business, it was like a group companies. Technically, it was a startup, but they had 3 tech recruitment firms underneath it. And they invested in Sourcewell, which is, I don't know if you know it, but it's, automated email marketing. It's really, really good. Sponsor me. I'm joking. But yeah, we used that so much, and they were mass sending out emails and profiles and working candidates to the point where I think something like 80% of our jobs came from Sourcewell. Now, I'll be honest with you, before what you just said a second ago, I was just like, I think it was a bit silly the way that they were like, we're going to ban Sourcewell in the office because everyone's become too reliant on it. And all the senior consultants would pull me aside and say, Charles, this is mental. 80% of the jobs have come from this platform and now they're going to take it away from us. Are they stupid? But then what you said about recruiters, if you don't have a plan B, you're screwed. When that when that stopped working so efficiently and you're sat there and you've got consultants doing this, and you're like, what are you doing? And it's just like, I've just sent out an eShot. And I'm like, right, well, fucking call through them then. And they're like, I'm like, you know what to do. You've got the handbook in front of you. You've got a fucking script if you need it. You've got all the questions. You know what to do. Call them up and essentially read your fucking email. That's all you need to do. And they're like, yeah, I know, but what if? And I'm like, what do you mean, what if, man? It's like, just fucking call them. Like, what's wrong with you? And that, for me, has always baffled me. Like, because when I first got into recruitment, they told me, this is not a 9 to 5. This is a phone-based job. If you ever feel like you don't want to speak to someone on the phone, wrong fucking industry. So everyone got that straight. Everyone was like, I guess. Right, we'll get back in. And on day 1, we were on the phones. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think you've kind of shifted me, because initially I was a little bit like, that was a bit silly of them to think about banning it. And then in fairness, I think it is a little bit. But if you don't have a plan B...
Well, I get why they would ban it. Because you are at risk, and I think that becomes a bigger issue as you get bigger, because it's okay if there's a few of you, and eShot doesn't work. Okay, fine. eShot doesn't work for a month. Okay, no problem. So the emails are getting blocked. Okay, not ideal, but whatever. We can deal with it. If you've now got 30 people, and that happens, that is a big problem. And if everybody doesn't know Plan B, that's a huge issue. So. It depends on the business and depends on what you want to do with it. And I've definitely, as we've got bigger, noticed, you can't rely on that as an option, because you can end up being in a bit of a situation where things aren't moving. But completely agree.
What do you think that is then, like, in terms of like people coming into the industry? And look, I don't know what the people are like in your business, but mate, the amount of times I've gone into recruitment businesses and the consensus is we need consultants being on the phone more. It just baffles me. It really, really baffles me. I mean, I think I told you yesterday, I was working at a client's office yesterday, because I get a little bit like, doing BD by myself sometimes. And literally yesterday, I just said to some of the consultants, like, first person to book a meeting wins. Like, obviously I've booked a meeting before anyone else, right? I was just like hammering. I had a list, like, and I'm quite old school. I've just got an Excel spreadsheet, a traffic light system, and I've just got all the people that I've met with, all the people that are cold, all the people that have told me to fuck off. Start with the warm ones, do the lukewarm, like the kind of cold ones, and then do the fucking awful ones that have told me to fuck off, and just power through and try and book meetings and try and win business. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, like, I'm the sales trainer and I'm on the phone more than you guys. What's going on here? This is odd to me.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I guess you don't. I've done deals for $40,000 and not picked up the phone before. So
that's madness.
So you can do it. So again, when you can do these deals without picking up the phone.
Sorry, can I just stop you there? How? Because I've seen some people do this before, and it was like a chief human resources officer or something like that, and big fee. And I remember like going through the process when this guy's boss left, and I was just like, "Where's your like job description, like or qualification call?" And he went, "Oh, like they've just sent me a job spec." And then I'm like, "When did you speak to this person?" And he was like, "Oh, it's just been like some messages on Teams."
Well, you can't work the job. You can't do that you can't do a placement like that and work the job, because you can't work a job that.
So are you saying that you've done that deal because you basically spec'd out a candidate?
Exactly.
Okay, so that's that. Okay, that's
different. You can't work a job that you haven't spoken to the client.
That's slightly different then. Yeah.
There's no way you can work a job that you've not spoken to the client. No
that's
chance.
When like I had to pull the CEO aside and be like, right, so matey boy is working a job and he's not even met the hiring manager, he's not spoken to them. They've just sent him a job description on Teams and said, our budget is this.
Yeah, that's not.
That's categorically shit house recruitment. It's awful. Yeah. I just couldn't believe it. But I think going back to what you said. That's the title of the podcast. Shit house recruitment.
No. I completely agree. No, how I did this placement was specking a candidate out.
Yeah.
But the client has a need that's clearly desperate.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're applying to an eShot, they must be desperate.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, why else would you respond to a random email from somebody you don't know?
I suppose.
If you're not, for the most part, you have a need.
So when you sent that candidate over, they've just come back on email saying like, we'll have a chat with the candidate. Yeah. And then you've just put the candidate in. And then in this instance, a lot of the communication in America, they seem to like to do it direct. Yeah.
So then they just ended up speaking to each other directly, and it was 160 at 25%, I think. 160k at 25%, something like that.
They just pay you a fee, essentially. That's madness. Did you do any repeat business with that client?
No.
Just a transactional, in and out.
Yeah,
wow. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like terms of like time, money, invest. That's
it didn't take long. It took about a week.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So it does work, man. It really does work. But obviously, you've been doing this a long time, right? So your A to Z is you know the different integral parts that. If the client was to come back and say, this candidate was great, but probably not right fit, let's have a chat, you'd be able to meet that person on Zoom or have a phone call.
I'll make a decision about whether or not I'm going to work the job or not.
Of course,
you're
you'd
absolutely
have to have a conversation
right.
with them first and figure out, okay, what was it about this candidate you didn't like and things like that. Whereas, like we were saying earlier, there's people that wouldn't really know how to make
I think when you're junior, you're just delighted that you pull in the job.
Yeah.
So, I've got a job.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Well done. There's loads of jobs out there. Will you make any money out of it or not?
I'll never forget one of the first ever jobs I pulled when I moved into permanent recruitment. It was a company called Purple Surgical. I was fucking buzzing. The geezer, I think it was like Barry. He was like 60 years old. I went, guys, just pulled a job. And they were like, hey, who's it with? I was like, Purple Surgical. And I went,
yeah.
And I went, what do you mean? This is a big moment. They're like, everyone's pulled a job with Purple Surgical.
Yeah, I mean, it does take a long time. I think that, again, there's another reason why I think you should work the candidate, because it takes years to know. Okay, this is a job. This is not a proper job, or that takes a long time, and we haven't got all day to get people up to speed. We need to get people up to speed quickly. So I think I'm pretty confident we can get people up to speed to get interviews quick, and have got people making money relatively quickly on desk. Bearing in mind this is the US, it's notoriously very difficult to get into. But yeah, obviously could talk about this stuff all day. But.
Tell me a little bit about the, you mentioned about if you're going to work a job, like the bare minimum requirement is interview slots. So the reason why I wanted to bring that up is there's this girl that I work with, and she keeps complaining about clients faffing around, they've not got some commitment, they're not respecting her process, etc., etc. And because I've been doing this a very long time, I it's like you have X-ray vision, like you can see the flaws in the process immediately. And I remember saying to her, and I was like, okay, so your process with this client's taken 4 weeks. Immediately, what that's saying to me is this client, they're not committed. This doesn't sound like an urgent priority for them, and they don't respect you. So when, like, what dates have they told you they can interview? And she's just gone, and I went, so you haven't asked? This is don't bullshit me. You can't bullshit a bullshitter. You haven't asked for an interview slot. She was like, no. Why wouldn't you do that? And she was like, I don't know. So we went through like the benefits of interview slots and how to do that. Lo and behold, 2 weeks later when I come back in to do the coaching session with her, guess what happens? Oh, I asked the client for interview slots and we've got a final interview booked next week. Everything went seamlessly. Really? No fucking shot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it's insane to me how many people don't tell their consultants to do that. That's a bare minimum.
Well, I don't think a lot of people have been taught.
They haven't.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people have been taught. And again, we when there was less of us, and again, it depends on the market, because some markets you don't necessarily need to. So when we were doing the Ireland and Europe stuff, the clients were so desperate that you didn't really need interview slots, because if you found a candidate, they just want to see them. So there wasn't that need for it. So you wouldn't have to put yourself in a situation where you're having to pin the client down, because you didn't need to pin them.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have the candidates to fill the interview slots anyway.
Yeah.
But so it's market dependent. And one thing I'm trying to do now is make sure that the interview slots are in place, because you can't. I also believe that you will find the clients that want to work with you, and you have to be very clear about what your process is. And if they don't like it, goodbye.
Yes.
Don't work how they want to work. Get them to work how you work. And also another thing with large organisations is they have a process. And to be honest with you, look, you can make money out of these larger companies if you're small. But you as a business, as a recruitment company, you need to be geared up to support those larger companies, because they are going to dictate to you how they're going to work. So you're going to have to adapt. And I don't think really you should be adapting. So I think if you're essentially you're just a resourcer if you're going to work for these big companies, and that's not recruitment. Yeah. So I think you have to draw a line in the sand about how you're going to work, and you don't deviate from that.
I like that. I really like that. Yeah, so many people on the podcast have said this, like the power of saying no to clients, and how many recruiters, like what you said, like it's almost like drilled into you to, like, you get a job and you just jump up and down and celebrate that you've got a job. And it's like, we shouldn't be necessarily jumping up and down. Yeah, great, celebrate the small wins, but like you have to, if you're going to work jobs, you've got to vet them to make sure they're in line with you. And I'll give you a good example of this. When I first started on that medical device surgical desk, one of my target clients was Olympus. And Olympus do like cameras, but they also do like endoscopes, 4K screens in the operating room. Their products were some of the market leading products, meaning that if I get a candidate, they're going to want to work for them. Their culture was terrible. So it was actually, we made more money taking people out of their company because they offered the best training on the market. Anyway, I met with the business unit manager, a guy called Johan Holbrook at the British Association of Urology 2017, right? And I met him at 3, 4, 5 different urology exhibitions. And every single time I'm like, hello, I'm not on your PSL yet. Like that. And he'd be like, and until one day he literally whipped out his phone and just went, what's your email again? Charles at Projectus Consultant. Okay, cool, check your emails. And he's literally just CC'd me into the whole talent acquisition team saying, I've met this guy at every major exhibition, don't meet any other recruiters. He's a sole specialist in this market, get him on the PSL. And at that point they were going through a cultural change where basically it was a Japanese-American culture. Just think about that for a second. It's like there were stories of candidates saying that their boss was outside their house at 6 o'clock and at 6:01 they're calling saying, why aren't you on the road yet? That type of culture. So we got invited into their office in Southend-on-Sea. We got to see the R&D department, the RAQ department. We got to see like their commercial. It was amazing. It was a wicked day out. But then when we started to work with them, oh my God, mate, it was the worst thing in the world, because you've got to go through 5-6 different people in the talent team. The interview process was so long, you couldn't get slots, you couldn't do anything. You just have to submit through a portal and then just cross your fingers. And then the minute you go and reach out and say,
see, this is a waste of time. And
100%.
again, it depends on the business, because if you're scaling a recruitment company, say for example, we want the business to be 100 people, inevitably you want to align yourself with the top end of the market. Just even if it brings in candidates for other roles that you've got, and then you just accept that you put account managers on there, and that's just how it's going to be. But I think. And we were talking about this yesterday, that you have got to get into the mindset of, I am the best person, and the best people don't do that.
They don't.
So why? So if I am the best person within this market, so for example, at the moment we're focusing on Manhattan high-end residential, hotels, and office interiors, and then I'm picturing myself turning up in Manhattan, going to $80 million homes and sitting down with some of the best developers in the world, because New York is the best place for that in the world. I'm not getting, no one's telling me, well, you got to do this now.
Yeah.
I'm the best person, the best people don't do that.
Yeah.
I'll be sitting down with the CEO, thanks.
I totally agree. It was a good lesson to go through though, because
absolutely, because I've been through all these journeys. This is how I've come to this situation, because, and I'm not saying that you don't. You have to go through it. I think everybody has to go through that, and you have to. You have to do that.
I think it's like when you date someone that's a bit crazy, and all your mates and your family are just like, they're a bit nuts. You have to go through that. In my opinion, at least, you have to go through that rather than hear it. Because my mum's always like this. She'll tell you, don't do this, don't do that. And I'm like, I need to learn by myself. I need to burn my hand on the stove to realise that that's hot. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But I remember when we got the agreement and the email to come through saying, congratulations, you're coming onto the PSL, there was like a mini celebration, because in the 10 years of the business, no one's got on that PSL.
Yeah, I mean...
But in the reality, as soon as we got on, we made less than 10 grand.
Well, exactly.
And we actually sent them an email to come off their PSL, because we actually done more business taking people out of their business.
I agree, and I think most of these companies only sign you up to block you.
Yeah.
So I don't think you should celebrate getting on PSLs for big companies. Far from it.
No.
They're trying to control you.
Yeah.
So if anything, you don't want to be on.
Exactly. Yeah. You've got to sign their terms
Sign
as well.
their terms.
Just,
yeah. I mean, look, it's fine,
nonsense.
but there's no celebration for that. That's not that. So you celebrate when you make money. As simple as that. And at the end of the day, this game is about simple, very simple. Make placement or not.
Yeah.
That's it.
100%.
Doesn't matter who you signed up, doesn't matter where you signed, this is all irrelevant.
100%, mate. And it's funny actually looking back that I was managing a team at that time, and both the consultants are like, why is Tim not celebrating that you've got, this is like a landmark thing, that the first person in the company history to get on the best endoscopy company's PSL. Looking back, I know why. Because we didn't make any fucking money. Like, it was a waste of fucking time. Getting absolutely just thrown to pillar to post, like, why have I got interview feedback from one?
I mean, to me, it's really obvious, right? So if you go into a market and then you look at who the top players are, so for example, let's say it's football, and you're like, oh, well, yeah, Man City, Liverpool. Yeah, I guess people want to go play for them, don't they? But I mean, that's obvious. Everybody's going to try and recruit for Liverpool, Man City. But why don't you just go for, I don't know, Southend.
Don't say Tottenham, please.
but Accrington and Stanley, they're going to need some help trying to get some players. That's for sure.
100%.
So you may as well, when everyone goes left, you may as well go right, in my opinion. And everyone goes to the top of the market. I would just avoid it myself. But each their own. If people want to go for the top, that's absolutely fine. Get the time wasted, no problem.
Yeah, mate. I think sometimes you kind of got to go through that, but there are times where you can just avoid it. Like whenever I hear PSL chat in offices, I kind of like throw up in my mouth, because I'm just like, it's largely a waste of time. Like you said, unless you have the infrastructure where you've got like an account manager team and things like that, Or if you get them to, like we worked with one of the leading robotics businesses in the world and orthopedic robotics businesses on an RPO model. So we just had a guy that was the key accounts director that all he did, God, it must be so boring in my opinion, to just recruit for one company doing the same sales pitch every single day. But he did really, really well. But they trusted us and we were essentially like their TA team, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we were dealing with the hiring managers, we were getting like, the hiring manager saying,
that's fine.
That's totally different. That's not competing against multiple agencies or anything like that. Look, I'm conscious of time. We mentioned that we were going to touch a little bit on AI automation and stuff like that. I just wanted to touch on that with you. What's just briefly, like, what's your opinion on it? Because before we clicked record, I told you about like the AI voice note that I got, and
yeah, I think if you can utilize this stuff, then it's good. If you're learning how to do recruitment, I'd say that you wouldn't want to be too reliant. You should know how to do the whole job and not rely too much on tools. But I mean, if it can enhance what you're doing, then you should absolutely utilize it. My concern at the moment is we've used automation for a long time. I've used it probably since about 2017, 2018.
What types of things are you using?
Just how there's a plug-in on LinkedIn that helps you reach out to connections and writes a message for you.
What do you use? Because I've recently just downloaded something called
this one's called LinkedIn Helper.
Oh, I used that. Was it called Linked Helper back in the day?
Yeah.
Didn't they ban that or something like that?
There's like another version,
okay,
but it used to be better than it is now.
Yeah.
But we was using that ages ago when it was actually decent.
Yeah.
But my concern is if the AI comes very good, then this email thing is going to be not as effective, and it's already, because in theory, if you get the AI to do all your admin, then you can maximise your output. So I do think that there will be a return of the in-person meeting, and I think that if you can operate within a small market and then get FaceTime with your clients, most recruiters will not be very good at in-person meetings, so they just won't do them. Yeah. Because who's done any in-person meetings for the last 5 years? Nobody. Not many people.
Not many.
So I'm quite good at the in-person meetings, but I've done tons of them. So if I turn up to New York and I go and do them, it's just a walk in the park, it's easy. So I could go and pull jobs in and deal with the clients and it's just easy. But my not concern with the AI thing is that those that are really good will build tons. So one thing I'm trying to focus on is actually making sure I'm doing a desk again, because rather than not doing one, which I haven't really been for the last 2 years, but doing a desk, because if I do get out and meet these clients, I'm going to put in so much work. And the reality is you can have an AI person, essentially you can create your own image of a person, which looks real. You could have people in South Africa operating the AI person. I think you could have one person billing 200-300k a month. I genuinely think that, because they don't even need to. English doesn't actually need to be necessarily there. They don't need to be excellent at it. That's why, again, with LinkedIn, I think that people that just rely on LinkedIn emails is, again, not very good. People don't headhunt. So if you can actually headhunt and you can actually meet clients, you can kill it.
100%.
Because nobody can do it.
It is kind of crazy, really, when you think about that. The fact that the skill gap is, and I try and explain this to the recruiters that I know are good when I work with them, that it's like you're a Premier League player playing in League 2 right now. There are so many people that are just crossing it, just doing a fucking long kick into the box and just hoping for the best. And you're dribbling through people. Like,
I hired someone in Dubai who'd apparently been doing recruitment for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I was suggested, maybe we should headhunt for this role.
Yeah.
So what do you mean? I've sent out all my LinkedIn messages. I was like, and I don't normally hire people with experience.
Yeah.
And I was like, so you've never call through switchboard. No, I'm like, what have you been doing? Because you're supposed to recruit, and this is not. You're not actually doing what you're supposed to be doing here. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I was stunned, and I was showing him how to do the job. I was like, what the fuck? I thought it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was absolutely wild.
What market did they work in before, though?
Finance.
Oh, you would have thought then they would have had, because I haven't done a lot of work with finance, but I worked with a client for like 9 months last year that did like a niche coding language, like techie recruitment, software developers and stuff. And I remember sat down like doing a headhunt sprint with someone, and every single website we go on, there's not a number. You Google, they don't have offices because all of them are working remote.
What will happen is those recruiters will basically they'll just leave, they'll just stop doing recruitment, or they'll just end up billing F all.
Well, do you know what? In those markets, what I learned, because that was quite alien to me. When I was like every single way, I remember like vividly sitting with the recruiter, going through their target client list, and none of the businesses, and they're US, but they were doing yes recruitment. None of the businesses had office numbers. None of them had office locations. They were a fully remote business. There's no numbers on Lusher or anything like that. How were they getting in touch with people? They were going into Discord servers. They were going through GitHub. They were going through Slack.
You have to be where your community is.
So that's what they did, and that's how they started to get in touch with people. And then they would be in these like Discord channels and stuff, and they're like, "I've just coded a new thing. Look at my new website."
Yeah,
like,
which makes complete sense.
This will make you laugh. I remember this girl Kira was saying to me, because I love like interesting ways of getting through to people, and she said, I've joined this, like I think it was a Discord server or a Slack channel or something like that, and this guy published a project for a new sex toy, and he's coded it to do some crazy new things, and he's put it in there. She's looked at his profile, which for all of his experience, and headhunted him through this channel. So like DM'd him part of this thing, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm open to a chat." And I was like, "Fucking bravo!" Like, because that's like intuitive thinking of seeing this project coming up, reading it, and going, "You could be good for my clients or whatever." And then she started working the guy out and whatnot. Couldn't get the guy on the phone though. I mean, eventually she had a Teams call or like a Google Meet or something with the person, but that market specifically, I call them basement dwellers, because they sit in their mum's basement coding and don't want to fucking speak to people on the phone. Personally, as you know, some of their fees are next level. I couldn't do that. I couldn't. I grew up doing, you know, nursing recruitment and sales recruitment, so you're constantly on the phone. I'm a people person. Don't get me wrong, I like being at home sometimes and away from people and all the rest of it. But like, if I just had to solely rely on just emails, text messages,
well, you lose your competitive advantage. So the reality then is, it doesn't matter whether you've been doing it 15 years, 20 years, and you're actually good. You can get somebody who's been doing it 3 months and they've got as much chance of finding a person as you have. So it depends on what you're doing with the business, I think. But then again, if you're scaling that company and you're trying to rely on people actually doing deals consistently, I mean, it's finger in the air stuff. You just don't know. Yeah. You just have no idea. So that's where the balance is. If you're doing roles where people aren't picking up the phone or influencing decisions, if you can't get on the phone to somebody, you don't know if that deal's going in or not. You just have no idea. Exactly. And if you're not sure how to qualify it out, you're just not sure, and then you're not sure on the pipeline, and you know, you're in a whole world of trouble then. But yeah, it's all dependent on where your market is. But yeah, for me, with the AI and automation stuff, I think it just makes the ones that are really good billers have the ability to just to make more. And then as for bigger recruitment companies, who knows? Yeah, it's interesting.
I've only recently-ish, in the last like 3 to 6 months, actually started using ChatGPT and like Zoom AI companion to like transcribe every single call that I do. Because for me, and I'm sure you're the same, as a recruiter, admin is like the devil, right? Like no one wants to do admin.
I mean, that Zoom AI companion, I mean, that is unbelievable.
It's insane.
Yeah, but again, the best recruiters can use that information to their advantage massively. Like, that is a huge game changer.
Because you miss certain things. Like, you know, I would say I'm quite a good listener, and obviously I've done over 50 episodes of the podcast, so every single episode I'm training myself to get better at active listening. But the AI picks up things that I'm going to naturally forget.
I had an interview yesterday for a candidate, and I've qualified the candidate. He's told me, look, I was on good money because he was doing his own thing before, but he said, look, I'll take 180, 200. Anyway, so he's gone into the interview, I've seen the AI companion. I'm on the phone to him as the AI companion's come up after, and I've seen that he's told him that he was on 250 to 475 over the last 5 years. So big money, obviously. Yeah. Now, he didn't spit that information out to me at the first stage, and he was very quiet about it until the end of the call, and I pressed him on it. But if I didn't have that information, I wouldn't have been able to press him on it, really. And I wouldn't have known if he was telling the truth or not, but I can see that he categorically said that to the client. So now I can handle it accordingly, but at least I've got all the information from the AI companion. So that is a game changer. But again, I'm looking at the information and it's giving me a competitive advantage, which is going to help me close the deal.
100%.
But, we'll see.
100%.
Nice if it goes
we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, the AI and automation is just getting smarter, better every single day. And I think at the start of the year, when I spoke to a few recruitment business owners, and I was like, surely it's not going to replace humans. It'll be fine. And everyone was always just saying to me that just ride the wave, don't get submerged by it, because you don't want to be the people selling horses when cars were being invented. You don't want to be that person. Like, no one's going to get in that. Don't be that person. Just start learning about it. My wife is so bored by it because I'm constantly just sat there like researching things and looking into it and thinking about, as a coach, as a trainer, and someone that has to still do business development, how can I use that as a competitive edge? Because I know for a fact, if I go and meet someone face to face, I'm going to be fine. If I pick up the phone and they answer, I can have a conversation, I can do a podcast, I can do all that type of stuff. But what about the things that are long? What about if I've done an hour-long coaching session, I need to go outside for 5 minutes to have fresh air, and then I've got another 7 coaching sessions? Do you really think I'm going to be able to remember to create my own reports from memory? I used to do that when I set this business up. It's a fucking nightmare. And then 3 days later, I finally sent the reports, and it's like the buzz is gone. Now, I just have the AI companion in the background, and that's my competitive advantage. So the minute I finish that conversation, I can go, done. Obviously, you have to read through it to make sure it's not AI garbage, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I think, and look, there's I don't think the scale of recruitment company needed. I don't think it's as necessary. I do think that, again, even having a recruitment business in the UK is expensive. By the time you start paying for NI and all this stuff, and I think you don't need to do that because you don't have to be as location specific. But yeah. Interesting.
Well, look, I really appreciate your time. As you mentioned, we could probably go on for a lot longer, but it's been nice to do this in your lovely office. As you know, every episode I finish with the same question: how can people get 1% better in recruitment?
Good question. I would say make sure you've got somebody who can train you properly.
It's probably
work hard, work really hard. Get 1% better. Yeah, you got to just make sure you got the right attitude and just try your best every day, I think.
Nice.
Done.
Cool. All right, wicked. In terms of how people can reach out to you, if someone watches this and they want to reach out.
If they want to reach out, it's just Sheldon Clottey, and then they can, or just find me through the Charles and Charles LinkedIn.
Perfect. Cool. All right, mate. Lovely. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you so much for watching this episode or listening to this episode, guys. Let me know, what was your biggest takeaway from this week's guest? What did you think about their answer to the 1% better in recruitment? I'm really keen to hear your thoughts. If you haven't already, please drop us a like if you're on YouTube, follow on Apple and Spotify, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm really, really keen to get some feedback from you all on what you think about the format of these episodes. Are there any other guests that you think we should have on the show? Are you someone that wants to be a guest on the 1% Better Recruitment Podcast? Because if so, you can just simply DM me on LinkedIn, you can drop me an email, all my details are below on these videos. And I'm always interested in having absolute legends come on the show that want to have real open conversation, that want to talk about things that could even be potentially controversial. We could debate certain things, but the whole point, as I mentioned at the start of the video, guys, is that my whole purpose with this show is to help the recruitment industry get 1% better after every episode. So make sure you're following, subscribing on all the different platforms, and I'll see you next week.